Hi, I'm Dr. Thomas Armstrong, and I'm really excited to announce my book, The Power of Neurodiversity, Unleashing the Advantages of Your Neurodivergent Brain. This is a completely revised and updated second edition of the original book that came out in 2010. In this video, I'd like to go over 15 key features of this new edition. Neurodiversity is an idea which asserts that atypical or neurodivergent neurological development is a normal human difference that is to be recognized and respected as any other human variation. The fact is, there's really no normal brain anywhere socked away under a bell jar or in a vat of formaldehyde in the world. And if there's no normal brain to compare it with, then how can anyone say what an abnormal brain is? The fact is that there are just a lot of different kinds of brains out there, just as there is a diversity of flowers and animals. You don't say a calla lily has petal deficit disorder, you just appreciate it for its uniqueness. Similarly, with cultures, we appreciate cultural diversity because it provides humanity with a rich set of traditions, resources, ideas, and systems. So why is it that when it comes to brains, psychiatrists ignore this rich diversity of brains and use instead a disease-based model in their Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, or DSM as they call it, which gets thicker and thicker with each new edition? We should apply the same kind of attitude and thinking for brains as we do for biodiversity and cultural diversity, as well as other diversities like gender diversity, age diversity, and ethnic diversity. Now let me discuss the 15 features of this new edition of The Power of Neurodiversity. In Chapter 1, I provide a history of the neurodiversity movement. I chart its roots in the disability rights and self-advocacy movements of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, through the coining of the word by Judy Singer in 1998 to its exponential growth over the past 25 years. I've also included a new chapter on a concept I took from evolutionary biology and that I call positive niche construction. The concept of niche construction as it relates to evolutionary biology concerns a focus on how different species out in the wild basically evolve and survive. It can be defined as the process through which living species seek to ensure their thriving by directly modifying their environment in such a way that it enhances that organism's chances for success and survival. Examples of niche construction include beavers building a dam, spiders spinning a web, birds building nests, and many more examples in the natural world. I've taken this idea and applied it to human culture, whereby we can ensure the thriving of children, teens, or adults by directly modifying their environment in such a way that it enhances their chances for success. The components that go into positive niche construction include assistive technologies, environmental modifications, rich social networks, positive career aspirations, and an awareness of personal assets and strengths. For the next 7 chapters, I focus on 7 basic neurodiversities. The 7 diversities are autism spectrum disorder, dyslexia, ADHD, intellectual disabilities like Down syndrome, mood disorders like bipolar disorder, anxiety disorders like OCD, and schizophrenia. And while there are hundreds of other neurodiversities, many of which I mention in the course of this book, I focus on these particular 7 because of the high level of attention each of them has received in the media, and because the number of people who are associated with each type tend to fall into these 7 categories. In each of these chapters on the 7 neurodiversities, I focus a lot of attention on the past 30 years of research pointing to how each of these diagnoses, seen up until now by most people in terms of their negatives, is actually associated with a wide range of strengths, talents, gifts, and abilities. For example, research suggests that people with autism do better than normal or neurotypical people on the embedded figures test, where one is asked to locate the simple shapes on the left in the more complex pictures on the right-hand side of the page. Then there's the well-known novelty-seeking propensity of people with ADHD, a feature that is associated with creative behavior. And there's the entrepreneurial abilities of people with dyslexia. People like Richard Branson and Ted Turner give us examples of neurodivergent people who do amazing things. The power of neurodiversity also includes descriptions of careers that seem to mesh well with different neurodiversities, and which jobs are a poor match. There's been a lot of attention in the business community, for example, on how well the logical pattern-seeking strengths of many people with autism work well with jobs in the IT and computer fields. This second edition of The Power of Neurodiversity also contains throughout the book hundreds of examples of assistive technologies and universal design for learning tools to help people with autism, ADHD, dyslexia, intellectual disabilities, mood disorders, anxiety disorders, and schizophrenia work around obstacles and achieve their goals. For example, for people with autism or intellectual disabilities who have difficulties with verbal communication or speech articulation, this app, Proloquo2Go, allows these individuals to communicate via tapping the icons on the screen, which then make the actual out loud communication. In this second edition of The Power of Neurodiversity, I also highlight neurodivergent individuals who've made a success of themselves, either as celebrities or as members of the community. Susie Sokolsky, for example, a Minnesotan who has Down syndrome, has created her own business selling her personalized brand of corn niblets as snacks, which she sells worldwide online at www.sunshine-susie.com. I hope you go online and buy some. Another key feature of the second edition of The Power of Neurodiversity is its focus on how to build social networks that are life-sustaining rather than soul-depleting. In other words, finding people in your life, surrounding yourself with people who inspire you rather than drag you down, who have special expertise to teach you, and who support your emergence as a fully empowered person. Examples of people who can help enrich one's social network include therapists, life coaches, tutors, support groups, and social networks that match individuals based on their neurodivergencies, assets, abilities, and needs. The Power of Neurodiversity also includes guidelines on how to design environments at home, at work, and at school that work to minimize difficulties and maximize strengths. For example, some individuals on the spectrum feel a deep sense of ease when they wear a weighted vest while they work, study, or play. Others use headphones to filter out sounds that disturb their sensory sensitivities. The Power of Neurodiversity also provides hands-on information about practices that can calm the self and raise one's self-esteem. For example, it provides instructions on using mindfulness meditation to help relax and center one's inner state of being. And it also includes instructions for self-massage, visualization, and positive mindset. This edition of the Power of Neurodiversity also has a separate chapter on applying neurodiversity to classrooms and other educational settings from preschool to postgraduate. Many K-12 schools, for example, are now incorporating stability balls and other kinds of wiggle furniture to accommodate a variety of attention and learning styles. The chapter also discusses universal design for learning applications and how they provide different ways for students to get information, process their learning, and represent their practical understanding of it. I've added to the second edition of the Power of Neurodiversity a separate chapter on applying neurodiversity in the workplace, since there's been such a spike of interest in this area. The book discusses a wide range of environmental factors that can be applied in the workplace to make everyone's work, neurodivergent and neurotypical alike, easier and more fulfilling. And it highlights best practices in making neuro-friendly workplace tools and resources available in a wide range of work environments. Another new feature of the second edition of the Power of Neurodiversity is a 200-item neurodiversity strengths checklist that I created to enable anyone to identify a wide range of areas in which they can excel. The checklist is not scored, but rather it's designed for people who have been surrounded by negatives all their lives and provides them with an exhaustive list of assets and advantages so that no one can walk away from taking this assessment without having discovered a wide range of strengths that they can use to better their lives. The Power of Neurodiversity concludes with a chapter called The Future of Neurodiversity, which lays out some of the influences that will sustain the movement, as well as factors that might impede its growth in the coming years. The chapter begins with a reference to Google's Ngram viewer, pictured in this slide, which tracks trends across time. Progressive education, for example, that kind of innovative education associated with John Dewey, peaked in about 1940 and has declined ever since. You can see from this slide that neurodiversity got started around 2000, shortly after the term was coined, and has shot straight up like a rocket and not yet declined. That's very good news for proponents of neurodiversity. But there are also factors that loom on the horizon that could drag neurodiversity down, including the recent banning of diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI initiatives in the federal government and in many private companies across the US, the UK, and elsewhere. Finally, this second edition of the Power of Neurodiversity includes a greatly expanded list of resources. I've listed hundreds of books, including many children's books, organizations and associations, websites, support groups, and descriptions of films that focus on each of the diversities taken up by the book. So there you have it, almost an entirely new book from the one that I wrote 15 years ago. I also share in the book a little of my own journey as a neurodivergent person with a mood disorder, sharing things that worked for me and creating my own positive niche. I hope you get the book and recommend it to friends, parents, teachers, therapists, and others who will benefit from a book that provides a positive perspective on helping individuals diagnosed with autism, ADHD, and other neurodivergencies, to help them see themselves in terms of their strengths and to be empowered with tools that help them reach their full potential. If you have questions, the best way to contact me is through my email address, thomas@institute4learning.com. That's thomas@institute4learning.com, shown here in the red lettering. I write a blog where I go into lots of issues related to neurodiversity and other topics. If you sign up for my blog on my website, you'll receive a copy of the 200-item neurodiversity strengths checklist that's in the book. Also, check out the rest of my website too, which includes other books, articles, and resources on neurodiversity and in other issues that I've written about over the past 40 years, including multiple intelligences, the natural genius of childhood, and how to make our schools the best they can be. Thanks again for watching and listening. I hope you get the book and spread the word. Bye.